Hey, welcome to the Blueprints of Buildings podcast. I'm your host, Glen Palmer, and I interview the movers and shakers in the world of property development and real estate. So today's show is sponsored by PropTech Metaverse Solutions. It's a new way that are changing how developments are visualized, marketed, and sold, and removes the need for outdated 3D models. So we use this tech to save property developers up to 11% on construction costs, increase plan sales, and save between 8 and 12 weeks of concept timelines. So to find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn at Glen Palmer Secure or look in the show notes below. So today's guest is Stasio or Stash Geleszinski, as he is the founder and the face of Needle. Now, Needle is a US-based AI-powered platform that predicts off-market multifamily real estate deals, and Stash is the host of the Stash Cast, another podcast. So Stash, an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Welcome to be here, and shall we dive in, shall we?
Yeah, let's go. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. So, first one is a good old faithful. I like asking this. And if time travel became a reality and you had the chance to go back in time to when you first started your career, what advice would the person you are now tell your younger self?
That's a good one. I think I think it's to kind of just have a little patience and, take some time. There's a lot to be done, especially when you're a young broker. Like, it's all about getting out there and call volume and things like that. But I think the message would be slow down, really try and hear or listen to what people are saying, not just hear it.
Yeah.
Build relationships and then, um, be more thoughtful, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in today's world, I remember when I first started out, right? All I wanted to do was sell, sell, sell. Didn't care about the person, didn't care about
Yeah.
who he was or what they were in. I just wanted to sell. And that's one of the things that I've always learned is try and understand who the person is that you're trying to sell to. You know, what's their pain points? What's their objectives? Why do they want to buy a property for the first place, or why do they want to get in investing? You know, get to understand them and nurture that. A lot of things. It's for me. It's nurturing a relationship now rather than just trying to sell as much as can as fast as I can. So, Stash,
Yeah.
with Needle using predictive, I am saying it right. It is Needle, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Using those predictive intelligence to uncover off-market deals. What's the toughest obstacle in turning those predictions into reliable transactions, would you think?
I think it's still kind of the same. Uh, you know, so what Needle does is it uses data and analytics through a machine learning model and evaluates a bunch of different data points. Like I think we have 300 different data points we've got,
Hmm.
and says here are the properties that we think are most likely to trade.
Yeah.
Um, but the toughest part of that, I think, is going to be still uh, getting in touch with the right decision maker. And, you know, just because we've flagged it as hot doesn't mean you can call them up and be like, hey, Glenn, I see that, Needle says that your property's likely to trade.
Mm.
You can't do that, you know.
Yeah.
So like I've had a couple of folks that uh acquisitions guys who are just hungry out to get deals, and they're like, well, I called 20 of them and none of them called me back or whatever it is. And it's like you still have to build a relationship and build trust and rapport
Yeah.
and things like that. So it's like I, you know, it's real estate is a contact sport, meaning that you've got to go out there and STP, see the property, see the people. And I think
Mm.
no amount of AI or systems or things like that. No, you still have to go see it,
Yeah.
and you still have to go see the people.
Yeah. Again, goes down to that relationship building. No, like
Hmm.
people buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah,
And if you haven't got that, they're not just gonna. Well, certainly for me, I mean, and especially in the age where you get spammed a hell of a lot. If you don't have that know, like, and trust, I just click away. And it's same.
yeah.
I suppose it's same in anything. So, in commercial real estate, we're seeing more AI and data-driven tools like Needle. So, where do you think the biggest shifts will come in how deals are sourced and how they're underwritten in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that as platforms like Needle, um, hold on 1 second, my screen just went dark. I don't know what the hell's going on.
That's with the technology. You can have all the technological advances in the world, but when things go wrong, they go
Oh
wrong.
my God. What? Sorry.
Well, I can still see you.
Oh, you can't? All right. All right. We'll
Yeah.
just keep rolling then. So let's restart with the question then.
So, okay, so basically, in commercial real estate, we're seeing a lot of AI and data-driven tools like Needle. Where do you think the biggest shifts will come from in deals that are sourced and underwritten in the next, 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think that as platforms like Needle uh, continue to evolve, um, the so one of the things about commercial real estate is that it's been very slow to evolve and adapt to and adopt new technologies.
Hmm.
So I think as uh, accessibility of data becomes more prevalent, I think we're going to see, you know, I think spreads are going to tighten, margins are going to tighten
Yeah.
because, it used to be, and it still kind of to an extent is kind of an old boys network game.
Yeah.
But I think so. Whereas it used to be, hey, I know something that my counterpart in the transaction does not know. So let me sell it or buy it, um, and then take advantage of the next opportunity.
Hmm.
These days, it seems like data is, like I said, becoming more relevant and available. And as that data is more readily available, I think that the sourcing of transactions will, you might be able to surface more deals, but I think it still boils down to like you got to be able to trust that the person on the other side is going to be
Yeah.
able to do what they say they're going to do. So, how is it going to change? I mean, it's still going to come, I think it's still going to come down to, um, you know, building those relationships. If you can just do it smarter, that's better. And
Yeah.
then with underwriting, there's all sorts of platforms out there like Red IQ can build a whole model for you for multifamily based off of, just essentially a rent roll. And even Excel, I mean, you can pro forma income and expense information. So, it's interesting.
Mm.
How's it going to change? I don't know. I don't know necessarily how like the underwriting will change because the numbers are the numbers.
Yeah.
But I think things like, you know, in smaller multifamily, a couple of short-term rentals can really change the game as far as income is concerned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think in like commercial transactions, you'll see repurposing, which we're already starting to see, but repurposing of failed other product types. Like I just saw something either on Instagram or LinkedIn, but how CMBS office delinquencies are like at an all-time high. Um, and Walgreens, for instance, here in the US is they're in some trouble, so they're having to shed some locations. Starbucks just made a big announcement about, shedding some locations. So I think that we're going to
Yeah.
see, backfilling of those opportunities and repurposing of some of those either sites or structures, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, in the UK, for example, the UK there is a load, and this mainly stems from the pandemic where
Hmm.
everybody started going remote. And a lot of companies have decided, well, we don't really need this warehouse space anymore because a lot of people are working from home. And what's now happening is you're getting the properties that are old commercial properties that are now just laying, to waste really, are getting brought up and built into residential spaces. Because in the
Yeah.
UK, we've got a real big issue with housing, the housing market. So all they've done is they're taking residential spaces and they're turning them into, sorry, commercial spaces and turning them into residential. So that's an interesting thing that's just come out of the pandemic, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing similar trends here. You're
Yeah.
seeing old malls being redeveloped, either, keeping some of the existing structure or, raising it completely, malls and shopping centers, um, and turning it into housing, which
Yeah.
is it's so interesting, right? That there's a shortage of housing in the two markets. It's like, you know, part of me is like, well, why is that? Granted, we had in the US, we had a housing bubble in 2008 that
Hmm.
popped in 2008. And it took a while for starts to get back into
Yeah.
stasis. But even then, it seemed like there was still more demand. Well, it's interesting. There's still more demand for housing. Like I'm in Cincinnati, and consistently every year there's a shortage of about 30,000 units throughout the market of all housing type, from affordable on up through, large single family homes.
Yeah.
And, if you think about it, well, the reason is because just because a structure is standing doesn't mean, or even it might have tenants in it, but if it is held together with, you know, bubble gum and duct tape, well,
Hmm.
that's not at the bottom of the barrel when you think about the housing stock. So it's like, even though it's functioning, it might not actually be truly part of the housing stock. So
Yeah.
and Cincinnati's got a bunch of old properties like that. I just finished a building like that myself. It was a shell, didn't even have stairs, and I've got six beautiful brand new apartments in it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the US, the especially the multifamily market. So when it comes to the local regulatory valuation or data access limitations that still hold back the predictive platforms from reaching their full potential, is that an issue that you have found recently?
I wouldn't cite it towards regulatory. I think it's just being able to have access to the data and then being able to afford the licensing and
Yeah.
and being allowed to use uh, data sources that are out there because there's a number of products that are out there, but some of them are like, nope, we're not giving you access to it. So it's like, all
Yeah.
right, well,
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Keep everything in-house.
yeah.
Uh, so when prospects see a property, whether it's via data or metrics first, how important is it to allow them to actually visualize what it would become, whether it's renovated, repositioned, etc., or how do you convert that interest? Is getting that visualization an important aspect of the next stage in property development?
I've uh, I've always found that for buyers, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, meaning that, you can, to use another analogy, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
Like, I remember this one instance where we had this buyer group that we were working with, and we had just met with them at a big conference, and they're like, yeah, this is what we want, kind of C plus with the value add in this particular market, 200 units. And we brought them that exact thing, and they shot it full of holes. It's like, are you kidding me? This is exactly what you told me you wanted. So, but I think when it comes to development, being able to have, well, here's a good example. I'm in a neighborhood called Hyde Park here in Cincinnati, and there's a
Hmm.
development that is proposed down on the square. And the developers wanted to put like initially like 300 units and a boutique hotel, and everybody in the neighborhood just fought it and has fought it tooth and nail. And the thing that the developer told me, he's like, yeah, the place where we screwed up was that we just released kind of preliminary renderings.
Yeah.
And as a result, like they nixed the hotel, they cut down the number of units. And the irony is that the hotel that these people fought so drastically, so dramatically, with signs and petitions and all that, they're the exact same people that would use that hotel either directly for a night out
Yeah.
or at the restaurant or bar, or to have their friends and family or, when they're coming into town, stay there because it'll be a sweet, it would have been a sweet, nice boutique hotel, probably, 300 to 500 a night, something like that.
Yeah.
And now, because they raised such a stink about it, uh, they get nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I don't see sense in that. It's
No.
like very, very similar to here. We had somebody petition against the big wind turbines. So over
Yep.
here we get a lot of wind, we get a lot of rain. So they were putting on the moors a whole load of wind turbines. Um, didn't want it. No, don't want these wind turbines. They're an eyesore, blah, blah, blah. Yet it was gonna provide them not only jobs, but it was also gonna provide them with free electricity. And yet they didn't see the bigger picture. They just saw this eyesore and they just, nah, don't want it. Forget it. So it's crazy. Crazy.
That's silly,
Anyway,
to say the
uh,
least.
so you've already have real deep analytics with Needle. If you could plug in like an immersive visual narratives or walkthroughs directly into your predictive dashboards for clients, how much more powerful do you think your pitch could become?
Yeah, I think being able to see what those, so a thought that I had was, what if you could look at the existing property and then, with photos or maybe some immersive walkthrough, and then you could apply what the value add would look like when it's done, and you
Hmm.
could almost like see the dollars piling up. I thought that could be a really interesting thing to try and go out there and take advantage of. So I think that it would, definitely be a value add to the solution that we're out there
Yeah.
selling.
Well, excellent. Yeah, well, that's it for today. Thanks, Stash, for coming along.
Thanks
Um,
for having me.
if you want to have your opportunity to tell the listeners what Needle's all about and what your podcast is about, floor's yours.
Yeah, so Needle is uh, a platform that predicts real estate transactions. We're built first on multifamily. We intend to move into the other product types here pretty shortly. And so if you want to get ahead of your competition, either as a broker or an acquisitions person, check it out, needle.us, nedl.us. My podcast is called the Stash Cast. We have interesting conversations with interesting people focused around the world of commercial real estate and prop tech. Um, and yeah, I just bring people on. Most of the time, I don't know them, and
Mm.
I'll start similar to you with an introduction, and then we let it roll there. It's uh, 45 minutes to an hour usually, but I like it, so maybe you should check it out.
Yeah, well, I will definitely check it out. That's for sure. And if anybody
Yeah,
else is listening and want to check it out, where can they get it? On the usual
where
podcast
all fine podcasts are sold. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Stash, and learning from your experiences and your insights. And obviously, thank you to all the listeners as well. As a reminder, the show is sponsored by PropTech Metallurg Solutions, a new way that's changing how developments are visualized, marketed, and sold, and that removes the need for outdated 3D models. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, or you'll find the link in the show notes below. So, thanks for tuning in to Blueprints to Buildings. I'm your host, Glen Palmer, and I'll see you on the next episode.